is well established in the teachings of Bhagavad Gita, he can take up the study of Srimad Bhagavatam for further enlightenment in self-realization. Next, 22. Translation. We think that we have met your goodness by the will of providence, just so that we may accept you as captain of the ship for those who desire to cross the difficult ocean of Kali, which deteriorates all the good qualities of a human being. Next, 23. Since Shri Krishna, the Absolute Truth, the Master of all mystic powers, has departed for his own abode, please tell us to whom the religious principles have now gone for shelter. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport of the first canto, first chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled Questions by the Sages. Chapter 2, Divinity and Divine Service. Shloka 1.
क्या क्वेश्चन है? अच्छा इसके लिए ठीक है.
Ugra Shrava Sut Goswami, the son of Ram Harshan, being fully satisfied with the perfect questions of the Brahmanas, thanked them and thus attempted to reply. Second, Srila Sutta Goswami said, "Let me offer my respectful obeisances unto that great sage Shukadeva Goswami, who can enter the hearts of all. When he went away to take up the renounced order of life, sannyasa, leaving home without undergoing reformation by the sacred thread or the ceremonies observed by the higher caste, his father Vyasadeva, fearing separation from him, cried out, 'O my son, indeed, only the trees which were absorbed in the same feelings of separation echoed in the response to the bereaved father.'" Next, 3. Let me offer my respectful obeisances unto him, Shuka, the spiritual master of all sages, the son of Vyasadeva, who, out of his great compassion for those gross materialists who struggle to cross over the darkest regions of material existence, spoke this most confidential supplement to the cream of Vedic knowledge, after having personally assimilated it by experience. Next, 4th. Before reciting this Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the very means of conquest, one should offer the respectful obeisances unto the personality of Godhead, Narayana, unto Narayana Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author. 5th. O sages, I have been justly questioned by you. Your questions are worthy because they relate to Lord Krishna and so are of relevance to the world's welfare. Only questions of this sort are capable of completely satisfying the self. 6th. The supreme occupation, dharma, for all humanity is that by which men can attain to devotional service unto the transcendent Lord. Such devotional service must be unmotivated and uninterrupted to completely satisfy the self. 7th. By rendering devotional service unto the personality of Godhead, Shri Krishna, one immediately acquires causeless knowledge and detachment from the world. 8th. The occupational activities a man performs according to his own position are only so much useless labor if they do not provoke attraction for the masses of the personality of Godhead. 9th. All occupational engagements are certainly meant for ultimate liberation. They should never be performed for material gain. Furthermore, according to sages, one who is engaged in the ultimate occupational service should never use material gain to cultivate sense gratification.
कितना बजे होता है दर्शनार्थी?
7:15 Maharaj. Earlier in basement Maharaj it was 7:30.
गुरु पूजा कितने बजे होता है?
पहले 7:30 होता था, अभी नहीं कर रहा.
7:15 दर्शनार्थी तो 7:15 गुरु पूजा. सॉरी 7:30 कीर्तन करेंगे. गुरु पूजा करता है ना.
9. All occupational engagements are certainly meant for ultimate liberation. They should never be performed for material gain. Furthermore, according to sages, one who is engaged in the ultimate occupational service should never use material gain to cultivate sense gratification. 10th, life desires should never be directed towards sense gratification. One should desire only a healthy life or self-preservation, since a human being is meant for inquiry about the absolute truth. Nothing else should be the goal of one's works. 11. Learned transcendentalists who know the absolute truth call this non-dual substance Brahman, Paramatma or Bhagavan. 12th. The seriously inquisitive student or sage, well equipped with knowledge and detachment, realizes that absolute truth by rendering devotional service in terms of what he has heard from the Vedanta Shruti. 13th. O best among the twice born, it is therefore concluded that the highest perfection one can achieve by discharging the duties prescribed for one's own occupation according to caste divisions and orders of life is to please the personality of Godhead. 14th. Therefore, with one pointed attention, one should constantly hear about, glorify, remember, and worship the personality of Godhead, who is the protector of the devotees. 15th. With sword in hand, intelligent man cut through the binding knots of reactionary work karma by remembering the personality of Godhead. Therefore, who will not pay attention to his message? 16th. O twice born sages, by serving those devotees who are completely freed from all vice, great service is done. By such service, one gains affinity for hearing the messages of Vasudeva. 17. Shri Krishna, the personality of Godhead, who is the Paramatma, Supersoul in everyone's heart and the benefactor of the truthful devotee, cleanses desire for material enjoyment from the heart of the devotee who has developed the urge to hear his messages, which are in themselves virtuous when properly heard and chanted. Purport. Messages of the personality of Godhead, Shri Krishna, are not different from him. Whenever, therefore, offenseless hearing and glorification of God are undertaken, it is to be understood that Lord Shri Krishna is present there in the form of transcendental sound, which is as powerful as the Lord personally. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, in his Shiksha Ashtaka, declares clearly that the holy name of the Lord has all the potencies of the Lord, and that he has endowed his innumerable names with the same potency. Therefore, there is no rigid fixture of time, and anyone can chant the holy name with attention and reverence at his convenience. The Lord is so kind to us that he can be present before us personally in the form of transcendental sound. But, unfortunately, we have no taste for hearing and glorifying the Lord's names and activities. We have already discussed developing a taste for hearing and chanting the holy name, the holy sound. It is done through the medium of service to the pure devotee of the Lord. The Lord is reciprocally respondent to his devotees. When he sees that the devotee is completely sincere in getting admittance to the transcendental service of the Lord and has thus become eager to hear about him, the Lord acts from within the devotee in such a way that the devotee may easily go back to him. The Lord is more anxious to take us back into his kingdom than we can desire. Most of us do not desire at all to go back to Godhead. Only a very few men want to go back to Godhead. But anyone who desires to go back to Godhead, Sri Krishna helps in all respects. One cannot enter into the kingdom of God unless one is perfectly cleared of all sins. The material sins are products of our desires to lord it over material nature. It is very difficult to get rid of such desires. Women and wealth are very difficult problems for the devotee, making progress on the path back to Godhead. Many stalwarts in the devotional line fell victim to these allurements and thus retreated from the path of liberation. But when he is helped by the Lord Himself, the whole process becomes as easy as anything by the divine grace of the Lord. To become restless in the contact of women and wealth is not an astonishment because every living being is associated with such things from remote time, practically immemorial, and it takes time to recover from this foreign nature. But if one is engaged in gaining the glories of the Lord, gradually he realizes his real position. By the grace of God, such a devotee gets sufficient strength to defend himself from the state of disturbances, and gradually all disturbing elements are eliminated from his mind. 18. Next shloka. By regular attendance in classes of the Bhagavatam and by rendering of service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed, and loving service unto the personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. 19. As soon as irrevocable loving service is established in the heart, the effects of nature's modes of passion and ignorance, such as lust, desire, and hankering, disappear from the heart. Then the devotee is established in goodness, and he becomes completely happy. 20. Next shloka. Thus, established in the mode of unalloyed goodness, the man whose mind has been enlivened by contact with devotional service to the Lord gains positive scientific knowledge of the personality of Godhead in the stage of liberation from all material association. 21. Thus, the knot in the heart is pierced, and all misgivings are cut to pieces. The chain of fruitive actions is terminated when one sees the self as master. 22. Certainly, therefore, since time immemorial, all transcendentalists have been rendering devotional service to Lord Krishna, the personality of Godhead, with great delight, because such devotional service is enlivening to the self. 23. The transcendental personality of Godhead is indirectly associated with the three modes of material nature, namely passion, goodness, and ignorance. And just for the material world's creation, maintenance, and destruction, he accepts the three qualitative forms of Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva. Of these three, all human beings can derive ultimate benefit from Vishnu, the form of the quality of goodness. 24. Firewood is a transformation of earth, but smoke is better than the raw wood, and fire is still better. For by fire we can derive the benefits of superior knowledge through Vedic sacrifices. Similarly, passion, rajas, is better than ignorance, tamas. But goodness, sattva, is best because by goodness one can come to realize the absolute truth. 25th. Previously, all the great sages rendered services unto the personality of Godhead due to his existence above the three modes of material nature. They worshipped him to become free from material conditions and thus derive the ultimate benefit. Whoever follows such great authorities is also eligible for liberation from the material world. 26. Those who are serious about liberation are certainly non-envious, and they respect all. Yet they reject the horrible and ghastly forms of the demigods and worship only the all blissful forms of Lord Vishnu and his plenary portions. 27. Those who are in the modes of passion and ignorance worship the forefathers, other living beings, and the demigods who are in charge of cosmic activities. For they are urged by a desire to be materially benefited with women, wealth, power, and progeny. 28 and 29. In the revealed scriptures, the ultimate object of knowledge is Shri Krishna, the personality of Godhead. The purpose of performing sacrifice is to please Him. Yoga is for realizing Him. All fruitive activities are ultimately rewarded by Him only. He is supreme knowledge, and all severe austerities are performed to know Him. Religion, dharma, is rendering loving service unto Him. He is the supreme goal of life. 30. In the beginning of the material creation, that absolute personality of Godhead, Vasudeva, in his transcendental position, created the energies of cause and effect by his own internal energy. 31. After creating the material substance, the Lord Vasudeva expands himself and enters into it. And although he is within the material modes of nature and appears to be one of the created beings, he is always fully enlightened in his transcendental position. 32. The Lord, as a super soul, pervades all things, just as fire permeates wood, and so he appears to be of many varieties, though he is the absolute one without a second. 33. The super soul enters into the bodies of the created beings who are influenced by the modes of material nature and causes them to enjoy the effects of these modes by the subtle mind. 34. Thus, the Lord of the universes maintains all planets inhabited by the demigods, man, and lower animals. Assuming the roles of incarnations, he performs pastimes to reclaim those in the mode of pure goodness. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purpose of the first canto, second chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam entitled Divinity in Divine Service. Chapter 3. Krishna is the source of all incarnations. Shloka 1. Sutta said,
One.
Chapter 1. Canto 1, Chapter 1. Questions by the sages. Text 2. Completely rejecting all religious activities which are materially motivated, this Bhagavad Puran propounds the highest truth, which is understandable by those devotees who are fully pure in heart. The highest truth is reality distinguished from illusion for the welfare of all. Such truth uproots the threefold miseries. This beautiful Bhagavatam, compiled by the great sage Vyasdev in his maturity, is sufficient in itself for God realization. What is the need of any other scripture? As soon as one attentively and submissively hears the message of Bhagavatam, by this culture of knowledge, the Supreme Lord is established within his heart. Text 3. Text 3. O expert and thoughtful men, relish Srimad Bhagavatam, the mature fruit of the desired tree of Vedic literature. It emanated from the lips of Sri Shukadeva Goswami. Therefore, this fruit has become even more tasteful, although its nectarian juice was already relishable for all, including liberated souls. Text 4. Once, in a holy place in the forest of Naimisharanya, great sages, headed by the sage Shonak, assembled to perform a great 1,000-year sacrifice for the satisfaction of the Lord and his devotees. Once, text 4, once, in a holy place in the forest of Naimisharanya, great sages headed by the sage Shonak assembled to perform a great 1,000-year sacrifice for the satisfaction of the Lord and his devotees. Okay, ma'am. The prelude of the Srimad Bhagavatam was spoke in the previous three shlokas. Now the main topic of this great literature is being presented. Srimad Bhagavatam, after its first recitation by Srila Shukadeva Goswami, was repeated for the second time at Naimisharanya. In the Vayavya Tantra, it is said that Brahma, the engineer of this particular universe, contemplated a great wheel which could enclose the universe. The hub of this great circle was fixed at a particular place known as Naimisharanya. Similarly, there is another reference to the forest of Naimisharanya in the Varaha Puran, where it is stated that by performance of sacrifice at this place, the strength of demoniac people is curtailed. Thus, Brahmanas prefer Naimisharanya for such sacrificial performances. The devotees of Lord Vishnu offer all kinds of sacrifices for his pleasure. The devotees are always attached to the service of the Lord, whereas fallen souls are attached to the pleasures of material existence. In Bhagavad Gita, it is said that anything performed in the material world for any reason other than for the pleasure of Lord Vishnu causes further bondage for the performer. It is enjoined therefore that all acts must be performed sacrificially for the satisfaction of Vishnu and his devotees. This will bring everyone peace and prosperity. The great sages are always anxious to do good to the people in general, and as such the sages headed by Shonak and others assembled at this holy place of Naimisharanya with a program of performing a great and continuous chain of sacrificial ceremonies. Forgetful men do not know the right path for peace and prosperity. However, the sages know it well, and therefore, for the good of all men, they are always anxious to perform acts which may bring about peace in the world. They are sincere friends to all living entities, and at the risk of great personal inconvenience, they are always engaged in the service of the Lord for the good of all people. Lord Vishnu is just like a great tree, and all others, including the demigods, men, siddhas, charanas, vidyadharas, and other living entities, are like branches, twigs, and leaves of that tree. By pouring water on the root of the tree, all the parts of the tree are automatically nourished. Only those branches and leaves which are detached cannot be so satisfied. Detached branches and leaves dry up gradually despite all watering materials. Similarly, human society, when it is detached from the personality of Godhead, like detached branches and leaves, is not capable of being watered, and one attempting to do so is simply wasting his energy and resources. The modern materialistic society is detached from its relation to the Supreme Lord, and all its plans which are being made by atheistic leaders are sure to be baffled at every step. Yet they do not wake up to this. In this age, the congregational chanting of the holy names of the Lord is the prescribed method for waking up. The ways and means are most scientifically presented by Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Okay, Maharaj. Text 5. One day, after finishing their morning duties by burning a sacrificial fire and offering a seat of esteem to Srila Sutta Goswami, the great sages made enquiries with great respect about the following matters. Text 6. The sages said, Respected Sutta Goswami, you are completely free from all vice. You are well versed in all the scriptures famous for religious life, and in the Puranas and the histories as well. For you have gone through them under proper guidance and have also explained them. Text 7. Being the eldest learned Vedantist, O Sutta Goswami, You are acquainted with the knowledge of Vyasdeva, who is the incarnation of Godhead, and you also know other sages who are fully versed in all kinds of physical and metaphysical knowledge. Text 8. And because you are submissive, your spiritual masters have endowed you with all the favors bestowed upon a gentle disciple. Therefore you can tell us Therefore you can tell us all that you have scientifically learned from them. Text 9. Please, therefore, being blessed with many ears, explain to us in an easily understandable way what you have ascertained to be the absolute and ultimate good for the people in general. Text 10. O learned one, in this iron age of Kali, men have but short lives. They are quarrelsome, lazy, misguided, unlucky, and above all, always disturbed. Text 11. There are many varieties of scriptures, and in all of them there are many prescribed duties, which can be learned only after many years of study in their various divisions. Therefore, O sage, please select the essence of all these scriptures and explain it for the good of all living beings, and that by such instruction their hearts may be fully satisfied. Text 12. All blessings upon you, O Shuddha Goswami. You know for what purpose the personality of Godhead appeared in the womb of Devaki as the son of Vasudeva. Text 13. O Shuddha Goswami, we are eager to learn about the personality of Godhead and his incarnation. Please explain to us those teachings imparted by previous masters, acharyas, for one is uplifted both by speaking them and by hearing them. Text 14. Living beings who are entangled in the complicated meshes of birth and death can be freed immediately by even unconsciously chanting the holy name of Krishna, which is feared by fear personified. Text 15. O Shuddha, those great sages who have completely taken shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord can at once sanctify those who come in touch with them, whereas the waters of the Ganges can sanctify only after prolonged use. Text 16. Who is there desiring deliverance from the vices of the age of quarrel, who is not willing to hear the virtuous glories of the Lord? Text 17. His transcendental acts are magnificent and gracious, and great learned sages like Narada sing of them. Please therefore speak to us, who are eager to hear about the adventures he performs in his various incarnations. Text 18. O wise Shuddha, please narrate to us the transcendental pastimes of the Supreme God's multi-incarnations. Such auspicious adventures and pastimes of the Lord, the Supreme Controller, are performed by his internal powers. Text 19. We never tire of hearing the transcendental pastimes of the personality of Godhead, who is glorified by hymns and prayers. Those who have developed a taste for transcendental relationships with him relish hearing of his pastimes at every moment. Text 20. Lord Shri Krishna, the personality of Godhead, along with Balaram, played like a human being, and so masked he performed many superhuman acts. Text 21. Knowing well that the age of Kali has already begun, we are assembled here in this holy place to hear at great length the transcendental message of Godhead, and in this way perform sacrifice. Okay, Maharaj. Purport. The age of Kali is not at all suitable for self-realization as was Satya Yuga, the golden age, or Treta Yuga or Dwapar Yuga, the silver and the copper ages. For self-realization, the people in Satya Yuga, living a lifetime of 100,000 years, were able to perform prolonged meditation. And in Treta Yuga, when the duration of life was 10,000 years, self-realization was attained by performance of great sacrifice. And in the Dwapar Yuga, when the duration of life was 1000 years, self-realization was attained by the worship of the Lord. But in the Kali Yuga, the maximum duration of life being 100 years only, and that combined with various difficulties, the recommended process of self-realization is that of hearing and chanting of the holy name, fame and pastime. The sages of Naimisharanya began this process in a place meant specifically for the devotees of the Lord. They prepared themselves to hear the pastimes of the Lord over a period of 1000 years. By the example of these sages, one should learn that regular hearing and recitation of the Bhagavatam is the only way for self-realization. Other attempts are simply a waste of time, for they do not give any tangible result. Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu preached this system of Bhagavad Dharma, and he recommended that all those who were born in India should take the responsibility of broadcasting the message of Lord Sri Krishna, primarily the message of Bhagavad Gita. And when one is well established in the teachings of Bhagavad Gita, he can take up the study of Srimad Bhagavatam for further enlightenment in self-realization. Text 22. We think that we have met your goodness by the will of providence, just so that we may accept you as captain of the ship for those who desire to cross the difficult ocean of Kali, which deteriorates all the good qualities of a human being. Text 23. Since Sri Krishna, the Absolute Truth, the Master of all mystic powers, has departed for his own abode, please tell us to whom the religious principles have now gone for shelter. Thus ends the Prasad and the purpose of the first canto, first chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam entitled Questions by the Sages. Chapter 2. Divinity and Divine Service. Text 1. Ugrishava Shuta Goswami, the son of Romharshan, being fully satisfied with the perfect questions of the Brahmanas, thanked them and thus attempted to reply. Text 2. Srila Shuta Goswami said, let me offer my respectful obeisances unto that great sage Shukadeva Goswami, who can enter the hearts of all. When he went away to take up the renounced order of life, sannyas, leaving home without undergoing reformation by the sacred thread or the ceremonies observed by the higher caste, his father, Vyasdev, fearing separation from him, cried out, O my son, indeed, only the trees which were absorbed in the same feelings of separation echoed in the response of the bereaved father. Text 3. Let me offer my respectful obeisances unto him, Shukadeva, the spiritual master of all sages, the son of Vyasdev, who out of his great compassion for those gross materialists who struggle to cross over the darkest region of material existence, spoke this most confidential supplement to the stream of Vedic knowledge, after having personally assimilated it by experience. Text 4. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances unto the personality of Godhead Narayana and unto Sri Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Text 5. O sages, I have been justly questioned by you. Your questions are worthy because they relate to Lord Krishna, and so are of relevance to the world's welfare. Only questions of this sort are capable of completely satisfying your sense. Text 6. The supreme occupational dharma for of humanity is that by which man can attain to loving devotional service unto the transcendental Lord. Such devotional service must be unmotivated and uninterrupted to completely satisfy the self. Text 7. By rendering devotional service unto the personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, one immediately acquires causeless knowledge and detachment from the world. Text 8. The occupational activities a man performs according to his own position are only so much useless labor if they do not provoke attraction for the message of the personality of Godhead. Text 9. All occupational engagements are certainly meant for ultimate liberation. They should never be performed for material gain. Furthermore, according to sages, one who is engaged in the ultimate occupational service should never use material gain to cultivate sense gratification. Text 10. Life's desires should never be directed toward sense gratification. One should desire only a healthy life or self-preservation, since a human being is meant for inquiry about absolute truth. Nothing else should be the goal of one's work. Text 11. Learned transcendentalists who know the absolute truth call this dual substance Brahman, Paramatma or Bhagwan. Text 12. The seriously inquisitive student or sage, well equipped with knowledge and detachment, realizes that absolute truth by rendering devotional service in terms of what he has heard from the Vedanta Shruti. Text 13. Text 13. O best among the twice born, it is therefore concluded that the highest perfection one can achieve by discharging the duties prescribed to one's own occupation according to caste division and orders of life is to please the personality of Godhead. Text 14. Therefore, with one pointed attention, one should constantly hear about, glorify, remember, and worship the personality of Godhead, who is the protector of the devotees. Text 15. With sword in hand, intelligent men cut through the binding note of recreationary work, karma, while remembering the personality of Godhead. Therefore, who will not pay attention to his message? Text 16. O twice born sages, by serving those devotees who are completely freed from all vice, great service is done. By such service, one gains affinity for hearing the messages of Vasudeva. Text 17. Sri Krishna, the personality of Godhead, who is the Paramatma, supersoul in everyone's heart and the benefactor of the truthful devotee, cleanses desire for material enjoyment from the heart of the devotee who has developed the urge to hear his messages, which are in themselves virtuous when properly heard and chanted. Text 18. By regular attendance in classes on the Bhagavatam and by rendering of service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed, and loving service unto the personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. Text 19. As soon as irrevocable loving service is established in the heart, the effects of nature's modes of passion and ignorance, such as lust, desire, and hankering, disappear from the heart. Then the devotee is established in goodness and he becomes completely happy. Text 20. Thus, established in the mode of unalloyed goodness, the man whose mind has been enlivened by the contact with devotional service to the Lord gains positive scientific knowledge of the personality of Godhead in the stage of liberation from all material association.
What time is Darshanati?
No, today we'll be doing at 7:30.
Darshanati.
7:30.
You know, 7:30.
Yes, maybe today is first darshan, maybe so.
Guru Puja will be
7:45.
very good.
Returning to Patna on 3rd of December after Diksha. So can we have some few moments and
कहा तो है
हाँ, yes, ma'am.
कहा
Yes, Mataji. Puja, Maharaj. Mataji बना रही है.
कहना जाती है
ठीक है
You're going to working
Class.
after class. Now class.
हम्म,
उसमें से काल सोफा पे बैठ इसको जो सोफा पर सादे निकाल
इधर
We willen toch niet, Makash?
आप बोल दिया कीजिए वहाँ बैठ जाइए उधर
नहीं
Nee, ik liet hem. Yes, okay.
एक्चुअली
क्या हुआ है बैठ के सामने बैठ के
That book.
First one.
No, this one, yeah.
Hmm?
Sure.
विप्लव विप्लव विप्लवा फेस्टिवल गोवर्धन में हुआ था। ऐसा ऊपर नहीं है वहाँ श्लोकास इसमें लिखा रहता है स्टार्टिंग में पेज पलटते ही सबसे पहले वही श्लोक आ जाता है। उसमें फर्स्ट कैंटो में है या इधर ताग विप्लवों करके एक श्लोक होता है। फर्स्ट कैंटो नहीं है ना, एक श्लोक यहाँ पे था लिखा हुआ। ये क्या है? कृष्ण शिव धाम कृष्ण स्वधाम भगतो कालो नष्ट तो 1:3:23 निकाल के देता हूँ।